would like to think that he's still young and powerful as ever. In the bottom right-hand side for Team Liquid, it is the red Terran player, uThermal.
Gotta embrace the fact we're getting old, cats. It's just the way it is, man. Mother Time is undefeated. In the top left side of Lightshade, we are looking at the main base of an actual youngster hailing from Russia. It is Vanya.
Thermal now in his fight against Vanya and against Time at the same time. Will he be able to defeat both in this match? That is now the question.
Even if he does now, eventually Time will catch up. I actually was
That is true.
almost shocked when I saw earlier today, when we were loading into max packs against Harstem, that even Harstem is 27 already. That's crazy. It's like kind of old.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, we're definitely all aging as time goes by. It's getting a little bit bananas there, but yeah, we gotta embrace it, right? Like it's yeah, that's just how it goes. And yeah, I'm just happy that we're still here playing this amazing game all that time later. So we'll see what happens. And Time was defeated in China, I believe, in the China region. So you know, some wins against Time
In a crazy final, actually, right? Cyan was down 0-3 and he got the reverse sweep, winning 4-3. First time in 6 seasons that Time will not be at the DreamHack Masters season final. Obviously, for Europe, the goal is top 4. That's what a lot of these guys will aim for at first. Probably besides Clem. Clem just wants to win it after winning it 3 times in a row. And then Rainer too, because apparently he said if you settle for anything less than first, you're never going to be a champ. Something along those lines. I don't know what he said exactly, but we saw it earlier today in one of our video segments.
Yeah, something along those lines. I think the spirit of what he said is definitely there. Spirit, however, will no longer be with us as he just lost to Skillus in the previous match. And now we have this match where uThermal is going to poke with his first Reaper. He'll try to bounce a drone and almost gets it.
Yep. Vanya does still decide to morph it into a sport crawler towards the end. Felt like that was a little bit late. If he wanted to do that, he could have done it earlier. Made 6 links, by the way, not 4. I feel like 4 is the standard, but he decided to play it extra safe.
Yeah, 4 is the standard. Dark does like to make 6 sometimes. Raynor likes to make fun of Dark for making 6 sometimes. But yeah, I mean, the 6 is going to make it so that you don't lose any for sure. At least not unless you mess up big time. And one thing that Vanya does very well is, in spite of his reputation as a more aggressive type, more tempo-based type Cirque player, he is very good at concealing information usually and trickery, right? Oh, that said, this creep tumor will actually get sniped. uThermal, in my book, has always had one of the best Reaper controls and just awareness in the European scene. Very nice.
I absolutely agree. I mean, we think back of the Inter Extreme Masters that uThermal won a long time ago in Shanghai 2016. That really was off the back of some phenomenal Reaper play. He was a little European beyond.
Yeah, he's quite impressive on that front. And yeah, I think it's going to be, like I was saying, on his turf to try and scout Vanya and know what he's up to. So his Reaper skills are really going to come in handy here. He's going to go inside the main. Not going to see too much as there is already a queen in position for that potential move that had just dropped the creep tumor that she was ready to defend. But hey, here's the trickery that we're talking about, as well as the control from uThermal, right? It's not just control, but the imagination to kind of know where the units are positioned and just find himself the opportunities with that Reaper. It will end up falling by the looks of it. Does get a scout into the main though, and knows now that there's nothing too crazy going on from the Russian.
Hellion Banshee Triple CC is honestly the most standard and straightforward build I think as a Terran player you can go for when you feel like all you want to do is just survive. If you feel like you are the better player, I think this is a build you can do over and over and over again. You may not get yourself ahead, but what you will force your opponent to do is play a normal game, because this build is so hard to all in. It's basically not possible unless the Terran really messes up and they just don't scout. But uThermal is going to be checking all the boxes because he obviously knows what he's dealing with here. Vanya, though, to his credit, is a man of extremes. Like, there was a time where it was always kind of the same straightforward, not very well hidden attack. I think over time he got better, like you said, in being very deceiving and keeping his opponents in the dark. But he's also willing to just be like, all right, I know what's happening here. You're expecting me to attack, so instead he just rushes up to 82 drones, and then he just never stops building Lings, Banes, and Mudas. And once more, the mechanics of Vanya really came a long way. I think he's a lot just more complete across the board in this day and age than he was a year ago.
No doubt. Very good creep spread to start as well. This is the kind of map that is pretty good for Zerg at most stages in the game. There is always the option for roaches, and that's why Banshees can be particularly powerful for Terran in the early game. But as the game progresses, it is a wide open map in spite of the rush distance being relatively short. So it's kind of a little bit of a Zerg paradise. Definitely a good map that Vanya very much needs, I think, in this series. So let's see if he's able to make some magic happen as the game progresses. Upgrades are pretty much even for both players. And yeah, nothing too noteworthy besides perhaps the potential for some damage from these Banshees.
Do you think it's fair to say that Vanya's ZVT is very similar to Elaze's?
I think so, yeah. I think so. I think Vanya and Elazer do strike me as similar players in general in terms of their strengths. Right? Like, I think they're two of the most timing-oriented, most sharp players when it comes to aggression.
And very good with their run-bys, right? Setting it up, making sure it doesn't get scouted too early on, finding a way to wiggle some Banelings into a mineral line. Vanya is losing 8 drones, though, to the 2-cloak Banshees. And like 8 drones is maybe not the end of the world, but the fact that he didn't even get close to killing one of these Banshees, that does scare me a little bit. There is a Hydra then going down, as it seems like we've got a little bit of a pause, as someone is lagging. Is that me?
Was that me? I got the attempting to reconnect.
Me too.
You did too? Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Ooh, my heart skipped a beat there. I was like, I never lag.
Yeah.
If I lag,
it
it's
might
bad
be-
news, cats. You're going to be riding solo for the rest of the day, because my internet in general always works until it doesn't, and then it doesn't work for like 5 hours straight. So I got pretty nervous there.
Yeah, that would have been really, really bad. We see Vanya now dropping an infestation pit. This seems to be a little bit of a recurring issue. I wonder if it's something with on the Blizzard side of things, because I've seen a little bit more lag over this last few days than just about ever, really.
I have to hold myself back right now, but I will. I will just pay attention to this army as uThermal gets a phenomenal start to this engagement. My goodness, snipes 5 or 6 Banelings, and Vanya is already in serious trouble here in the first game. There's still a Cloak Banshee. This is kind of chilling in the natural. It seems like one Banshee did fly into the Sport Roller or the Queen, but Vanya needs to sharpen things up a little bit here, cats, because he's been taking just a bit more damage than I feel like he is supposed to take in this phase in the game.
Yeah, an expert turn move there to kind of just not move a muscle. It seems like the most easy thing to do, but it's difficult when you have Banelings running at you. You just have to identify that the Banelings are running in a line and that they will kind of trickle towards your Marines. So uThermal with 2 very good engagements to start off here. And off of the back of the first engagement as well, gets to clear a lot of creep that was extending onto that very important ledge for later in the game.
2 Widowmines that were left behind will fire, but they don't get a whole lot. A single Ling and a bit of damage to one of the Queens. But this big army in the bottom left, though, and there is still an army on the top side to worry about, too. It really feels that uThermal doesn't even need to be this aggressive, but he just wants to do it. He kept all of his Hellions alive from the early game. They morphed into Hellbats. The Marines in the top side are finding a lot of success, too. And this one could very well be almost all over, because it feels everywhere we look, uThermal is getting victory left, right, and center.
Yeah, he really is doing a fantastic job here. He really knows his limits as well. Like, one Baneling gets a connection on the north side of the map, but it doesn't really end up mattering too much. uThermal just steams on forward. And with this, I mean, he has situated himself a wonderful advantage. You said it at the start of the series, uThermal needs 3 bases before he really does anything else. Wow. Vanya knows what a difficult position he's in. And if that was Raynor, I would be like, okay, he can maybe... yeah, I'm not going to call it a game, but I mean, it was looking very, very dire, right?
Yeah. I mean, it was also supply block there towards the end. He was 127 supply out of 120. 4 Overlords were on the way, but it was going to take a while before they showed up. And then he saw the next wave already coming, stepping on creep. Vanya needs to clean up the early game there. That's something that I feel like he really got a lot better at over time. But like losing 8-9 drones that early on, not having the greatest creep spread, not picking up a single Hellion, not getting the kill on one of the Banshees. These things stack up. And uThermal is relentless in this matchup if you give him some momentum.
Yeah, also good moves from uThermal to cloak the Banshees very preemptively. A lot of the time, like the easiest thing to do is to be like, I'm gonna cloak, when I need to cloak when I'm spotted and whatnot. But uThermal kind of cloaks before going into Overlord range, even, which allows him to kind of get into the natural unspotted. So there is a spore there that will give vision for the Banshees, but the reaction time for Vanya is that much later because uThermal had the preemptive thought to cloak the Banshees earlier. So credit to him as well, but I mean, that looked pretty dominant from him, to be honest.
Yeah, that looked a little bit too dominant. Even though we all picked uThermal, we thought uThermal was going to win, and Twitch chat, all the thousands of Grandmaster League players out there also agree with us. We did expect a bit of a slugfest. We expected Vanya to throw the kitchen sink at uThermal. None of that. Like, Vanya didn't kill a single SCV, I believe. Like, I don't think he killed a single SCV that game, and that's always a little bit terrifying. I guess the best thing you can do is just forget about that game and realize that you need to clean up the defenses early and hope that you can find yourself in a more playable spot, as the second map will be 2K Atmosphere. What does scare me though, Cats, is that was Lightshade. I feel like games are not supposed to look like that on Lightshade.
Yeah, and that is one of the best maps for aggression. We talk about that map as a good Cirque map and a map where Vanya can really do anything, right? Like, he can be aggressive or he can sit back and play the macro game. But the problem for me is that is one of the best aggressive maps. So yeah, you can do both on that map, but you don't have many other maps where you can actually showcase your aggression, which I think is still perhaps his strongest point. It's going to be a little bit more difficult to do on a very large map like this one, but it is also not a bad Cirque map. So in the bottom left-hand side of the map, it is the Russian player, Vanya.
And that, of course, means that in the top right side, we are looking at the main base of our Dutch Terran player, representing Team Liquid. It is uThermal. I feel like everyone of Team Liquid should be watching the boys today, right? Since they're not a TI.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point. Yeah, everyone from Team Liquid should be watching this right now. I mean, Team Liquid has so many other teams. I'm not sure if there's any other active esports, but yeah, they did not make it to TI.
I feel like it pretty much always is, right? This day and age, you open Team Liquid or you open Twitter, and every game is having the World Championships. It's like, wow, how many esports are there? There are so many different scenes these days. It's crazy.
Yeah, way too many indeed. Or maybe not.
I don't know if it's way too many, but
yeah, maybe
it's many.
It's a good number. It's a perfect number then. I mean, yeah, more esports is, of course, gonna be good, I think, in general. We see a pseudo star here being drawn by uThermal at his natural base. So a little bit of a Huck vibe if we're revisiting old Team Liquid members.
Actually, I always think of EG when I think of Huck, but
for sure,
he used to be on Team Liquid as well. He was on Team Liquid first, and then he made a move to EG, right?
Yep. That is correct.
Very controversial.
Controversial indeed. Yeah, I mean, it was a pretty cool announcement when Huck joined, because him and Idra used to hate each other, but then they had the joining hands type announcement, rivals unite or something of the sorts. A very cool moment.
I feel like they never became the best buddies though. I don't think they was actual hatred, but I never really seen them be ultra buddy either.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. From what they were at the start, they certainly made leaps and bounds on that front.
Yeah, I guess it couldn't get any worse.
Yeah,
anyway, we've got the Reaper of uThermal running to the other side of the map. Vanya did not go for 6 links this time, just the 4 links. And he may end up losing 1. Yep, that is indeed what happens.
Yeah, not the worst case scenario for him, but here comes the Reaper. Oh, actually gets the creep tumor. That is so daring from uThermal. I mean, normally, that's, not even noteworthy, but Vanya knows that the Reaper is so low that he probably won't poke back in. And uThermal knows really the limits of this unit, so he does poke back in, and that very first creep tumor is pretty important.
Yeah, Mark really feels in the zone so far in this best of 5, and I just took a sneak peek at the player cameras, and Vanya took one of his hands off the keyboard, started scratching his head a little bit, where he's like, why is this happening? Like, he knows how important that first creep tumor is, and it's just not supposed to happen. This is the stuff you practice over and over again, and you expect these players to know the range, to know the possibilities of an early game unit like the Reaper. But perhaps the nerves getting the best of Vanya so far. But also just kudos to uThermal, man. He's looking for openings, and if you look for openings non-stop, you're sharking around. Or Shark? No, Shark.
King, yeah.
Eventually, you'll find something.
Yeah, and the second creep tumor is actually placed so far back that it barely gains any ground.
Oh, no.
My god, is this one gonna fall also?
Yep.
Wow, the very last shot gets it for uThermal. He will lose the Reaper for his troubles, but again, I mean, this creep could be a lot further to the front on the side of Vanya. So overall, I think uThermal's gonna be okay with that outcome. Obviously, losing the Reaper is far from ideal, and he's not gonna have that as a scouting tool. Once again, uThermal going for the Banshee. I think this is partly due to the opponent that he's facing. Yeah.
Do you think he's gonna YOLO the 3 Hellions?
I mean, yeah, uThermal just answered himself. I don't want to see it, but it might have worked. I mean, there are now some links, but yeah, that would have been a little bit crazy. But I wouldn't put it past uThermal, right? Like, he is the type of player to take risks once in a while if he evaluates like he's snowballing or something of the sorts.
I mean, uThermal's basically just doing the exact same thing as he did in the first game, and why not? This is just a super safe and solid build in TVZ, and he really, first game didn't give him any reason whatsoever to change things up. I obviously cast a lot of Hero Marine, and whenever I see Gabe go up against a Zerg that's not Rain or a Cero on the European scene, I feel like more often than not he goes for this opening. He gives us a little explanation on why it's super solid and how he can basically not lose because he's Gabe. He's going to be better than his opponent.
Yeah, and uThermal taking a similar approach, to be honest, even leaving 3 Hellions the entire time here, as our opponent has, as our observer has shown us multiple times. So Rambuys from Vanya, right? Really respecting that potential for the links. Now he has a full wall off, so he is a little bit more free to move those Hellions should he want to, and that's exactly what he's gonna do. But not before having a full wall off does he move those. So he just keeps map control with 3 Hellions.
This is cool.
And yeah, he's playing very safe.
I like what he's doing there with the Hellions, controlling the Zelnaga Watchtower, because that gives him the heads up, right, that he doesn't have to cloak the Banshees yet. He wants to keep the Banshees hidden. Even though Vanya may be expecting this, he hasn't scouted a whole lot, but I guess he just kind of expects most of these top-tier European Terrans to go for Hellion Banshee. The cloak has been activated now. Last game we lost 8 drones very early on. Vanya, the Queens are a bit out of position. Ends up losing 3, 4... it's not good, cats. It's 5 drones already, and we barely got shots off on the Banshees.
Yeah, it's really rough. It's 5 drones, and I mean, this Banshee opener, again, I think it's uThermal being cautious, right? It's respecting the potential for aggression from Roaches, from Vanya, as well as the potential to do his own aggression, to put on his own hurt, and it's 9 drones, so even worse than the previous game.
Yep, no Spore Crawler here, no Overseer here. Are the Banshees going to run out of energy? Nope, not quite. So
maybe
both of the Banshees are going to live. If I'm uThermal, I just send them home now. You can repair them, but you can also just put them on patrol somewhere outside of your natural and your third base, because you know that Vanya is going to try to go for something similar like he did on Lightshade, but then uThermal greeted it with 20 Marines and Hellbats. But that kind of stuff is going to happen again. So you may as well get the Banshees out there, put them on patrol, and give yourself the heads up and a little bit of extra map presence.
Yeah, I mean, uThermal is playing a very good game here so far, just being ultra defensive, just respecting his opponent. I mean, when I say ultra defensive, it's not like he's gimping himself too much, right? Like, just the extra bunker, the extra wall-offs a little bit earlier, like before really moving out, like really just securing his own ground, so making sure that his move-outs are going to be well substantiated. But hey, Vanya finding a little bit of an opening. We'll kill like 3 or 4 Marines there at the front, as they weren't all clumped up. Baneling speed is a little bit late though on the side of the Russian.
Yeah, +2 Carapace is a bit late as well. I mean, he's still gonna be fine because it's still a bit quicker than +2 of uThermal, but he could have started it a while ago. And I was taking a look at his resources. It's not like he was broke. It's not like he really needed it elsewhere. It seems like he just kind of forgot at first. Good split up there on one of the links, and the Banelings will push the Marines away. And at the same time, we've got our first counterattack, but uThermal's got a lovely SimCity there with a couple of depots and the bunker.
Yeah, I mean, uThermal's really playing the opponent more than we've seen, I think, all day long. He is just completely ready for those counterattacks. The Banshees will go back in, pick off maybe a couple of extra drones before their energy runs out or the Spore repositions here. At the same time, the medevacs are ready to go into the main, and Vanya just moved out of that location. There is no Overlord on that airspace to the left of his base, so these medevacs are potentially going to do a lot of damage, but maybe he's waiting for the Muta to be out of position. Nope.
Yep. uThermal's playing this really well. He kept those medevacs there for quite some time, waiting to pull the Mutas out of position. Mutas alone are going to have a hard time running into this many Marines and a Widow Mine. While all of this is happening, there is a big army knocking at the front door. The Widow Mine shot is so big in the main base. I'm sorry, Neo, I was taking a look at that, but it killed a bunch of drones, links, and did a lot of damage to the Mutas too. At least Vanya is finding a little more success on the right side. That was a big mine connection in the main.
Yeah, that's pretty important for Vanya, but he does end up losing 7 additional workers. So uThermal keeping up in economy or even pulling ahead considering the orbital commands and now taking a 4th or looking to take a 4th anyway. He has continued to keep control on those watchtowers as well, and he does so with enough units that it's not easy to dislodge. He will get a lot of information. Now Vanya should be able to collapse on this side, but that means uThermal will be free on the left-hand side to potentially deny this base from Vanya.
Yeah, that's going to be the easiest kill of uThermal's life. It's funny, by the way, I just took a look at units lost resource tab, and it's at 3,700 against 5,300, which was the exact same as the first time I checked it on Lightshade. I'm like, oh my goodness. Yeah, I checked it once on Lightshade, and it was 3-7 against 5-3. I check it again, and it's 3-7 against 5-3.
Yeah, it's at least a little bit later in the game than on Lightshade, so the game is still progressing. That does bode a little bit better for Vanya's chances, of course, as he is not yet dead. And actually, we'll find some very nice connections here, and does have a pretty sizable number of mutas, so maybe on the counter offense he can do something. A nice mine shot will shove off some of the searchings of Vanya, but for the first time in the series, he has map control.
Yeah, I'd love to see the creep get out a bit further though, right? It feels like this is where it kind of gets stuck because it's not getting on the high ground. The Mutas are going to try to find some success, but there is a Big Daddy Thor on the map. Vanya is brave enough to fire up a Hive, and that's obviously something we'd love to see. Hive is something he's absolutely going to need because you know you can't stay on 2-2 forever with Ling Bane Muta against the Terran. Pulled against Jaedong happened many times for a reason, Cats.
Yes, indeed. That was a classic matchup as well. Banelings will find connections onto this little squad of uThermal here, who's gonna actually go south. That will open up for the Mutas to actually hunt this medevacs down as well. On the other side of the map, uThermal's gonna use this opportunity to once again deny the 5th base of Vanya. But I mean, that's not terrible for Vanya. This is a decoy medevac though, uThermal, with the 5-head moves.
That seemed like not a cancel, but a kill to me though, right? Because I didn't see an animation. I was actually looking at something else, but I'm pretty sure that Vanya didn't cancel that hatchery, so that doesn't help. I don't want to go here, but it does kind of just feel that uThermal's outplaying Vanya so far in this best of 5. There's very, very little going Vanya's way. He does have decent supply, but his supply is nowhere near as good. The Thors are getting a couple of very big shots off. Does not even kill that turret. uThermal could repair it. But you look at the mini-map now, more Marines are going to get on top of this hatchery as the empty medevac went down against the Mutas, but the medevac with the Marines inside of it was left alive. uThermal's going to stim again and get one more cancel. He's everywhere, man.
Yeah, just amazing. I mean, that medevac and how much attention he put to it, like boosting it and whatnot, he really sold it to Vanya that there was something to drop there. So Vanya catches it, and that was expected by uThermal. So the next medevac, I mean, it gets a few workers.
Oh no!
And for his travels, the Thor is here at least.
Yeah, and triple turret. We're even getting an extra turret. I think uThermal at this point is actually having fun. And a uThermal that's enjoying himself is a very scary uThermal, because we know he is an emotional player. And I think he's having the time of his life. A lot of the moves that he's trying to pull off so far are working out. Another big Widowmine connection there on the Banelings. And uThermal does a good job in saving some of his key units. The amount of bio units he's got on the right side of the map, my goodness.
Yeah, very strong macro as well from uThermal. Vanya at 83 workers is not nothing. This is a lot of Banelings, however, but the Marauders are going to stand in the front. And now uThermal will be able to evacuate his base. The orbital command evaluates that maybe this many Banelings can kill it. So instead, it lifts up, and great crisis management from uThermal.
Yep, very expensive there, but at least Vanya keeps uThermal on his side of the map for a little bit, so that's nice. What's less nice is that he still didn't really get the 5th base up and running. It is done now, and he's going to try to send over a couple of drones. Widow mines do not fire. Do we have an Ultra Cavern yet? No, we don't. At least we're getting 3-3 upgrades, so I guess that's kind of cool. And uThermal never started +3 armor, by the way.
Yeah, that's interesting. Maybe a little bit of an oversight from his side of things. Now Vanya finally getting a little bit more complexity to his army as well. Like, yeah, he has been maxed, but mostly links, right? Like all of those links could be transformed into banelings, like he would have that much stronger of an army and that much more expensive of an army. So yeah, now being able to get that complexity, he is gonna collapse onto the army of uThermal, who does have Thors and Marauders to tank, so he has to be very careful. Vanya off creep will commit actually for the engagement, somewhat surprisingly. I'm not sure if those are ideal trades. On the other side, uThermal is trying to fend off the Muta, and very good job from Vanya picking off a couple of those medevacs on the retreat.
Yeah, but Vanya has now lost 5,000 resources more, which are not unheard of numbers in ZVT. But that's something you can get away with when you are the one killing SCVs over and over again, denying bases, and you've got all the map control in the world. I feel that Vanya is fighting over every inch on this map, and he has not done a great job in dealing economic damage to uThermal so far, actually only killing 2 SCVs. How crazy is it that we saw a couple of massive baneling run-bys, and uThermal has only lost 2 SCVs in this game? Even if the supplies are in favor of Vanya now, I actually feel like we're getting towards the end of this game. Ooh. Unless the Mutas can maybe find the medevacs here, that would be nice. As one of the Thors could potentially go down too. So this is good stuff by Vanya.
Yeah, the medevacs stop for a second there, and that allows for the Mutas to catch up. At the same time, uThermal carves himself a little bit of space on this side of the map, but he doesn't really have that much. And if Vanya had consolidated his army and kind of crashed onto uThermal with the rest of the Muta, that could have been deadly. Now uThermal knows where the Muta are, so he might continue the push here. And on the other side of the map, things are happening as well. As the Widowmines are going to burrow, the Thors are going to tank as much as they can. And the Ling Bane does clear things. So Vanya, with a couple of nice victories, a good minute or two.
Yep, absolutely. Last 2 minutes were very strong for Vanya. Finally finding some success, being able to get the 4th or 5th base up in the bottom right, and now even getting a 6th base there. Creep has still not made any progress, by the way. Those active tumors have been sitting there in the center of the map forever. Vanya's just too focused. He wants to potentially end it here. He's going to try to get on top of the Thor. Cool. Can he at least kill the planetary? He's got a lot of banelings, so the answer is yes, he can kill. And he actually gets a cancel or a kill on the other 2 additional command centers too. I mean, a pretty wild and reckless attack, but it absolutely worked out.
Yeah, 2 kills. Actually, neither of those command centers being cancelled. They're from uThermal, so a little bit of an oversight yet again. He is not maxed. He doesn't have the money to max out, and all of a sudden he's only on 58 workers. So the economic lead that he had been holding for the entire game is vanished, and the resources lost tab is beginning to equalize more and more as well. So with Ultras on the way for Vanya and this many banelings, I have to imagine he'll be able to hold. I'm not sure that he needs to push the Asia right now, but he thinks it's go time, and he's gonna go indeed. uThermal does remain with a large portion of his army standing, but at least Vanya has bought himself some time for the rest of his banelings to morph, and now looking to collapse onto the army of uThermal once again.
Yep, and there's an Ultra showing up too on the right side. That's absolutely going to help out, and just like that, it's actually Vanya who ties up the score here after just a very strong last 3 minutes. It felt that almost everything was going uThermal's way, until he forgot about those 4 medevacs right in the bottom right. Those medevacs could have escaped easily. They went down, a Thor went down, and at that point Vanya's like, alright, I don't care about a lot of things. What I care about right now is finding damage. And suddenly he was winning fights on the left side on creep, on the right side against the medevacs, and then diving for the planetary and getting it. Well done. That makes me happy, because now I feel like we've got a series on our hands.
Yeah, we definitely do have a series on our hands. That was very well done by Vanya in those last few minutes of the game. But at the end of the game, he seemed still upset with himself. I don't know if you caught that, but he was looking kind of angry and starts hitting his face as well. So yeah, I'm glad he won.
Because... Don't worry about it.
It's a Russian thing? Yeah. All right. Because, yeah, I mean, imagine if he lost. Oh, man.
I don't want to imagine. Actually, there used to be a Warcraft 3 player from Ukraine who, even if it wasn't that hot, right? Let's say it was like 19 or 20 degrees Celsius, so I don't know, 85 Fahrenheit or whatever that may be. He would like take off his shirt and he would sit shirtless in the tournament area. And then before the game, he'd be like, oh, and like smack himself really hard. And we're like all looking. It's like, oh my God, this guy gets really intense. But then he did win a tournament in Amsterdam. So clearly it works. And I was like, from that day on, whenever Eastern Europeans smack themselves in the face, I assume it's a good thing.
If I'm his opponent sitting across from him, though, I'd be like, maybe I should let this guy win.
He was very skinny. The Warcraft guy was very skinny, but he did take off his shirt and...
Fair enough. All right, so 1-1 is the series. That is pretty exciting. It seems like Vanya, of course, did stand up right away there, so probably needs a little bit of time. He's not yet in the lobby. uThermal's already here. And Blackburn will be the next map. It's a pretty cool map for TVC, and uThermal is one of the very few Terrans who is willing to play mech in just about every matchup as well. So could see it.
Yeah, I'm really happy that Vanya was able to crawl his way back into the game, because I wasn't really feeling where it was going at first, and he was taking a couple of questionable fights. The creep wasn't making any progress, but yeah, suddenly he just got it together, and now I feel like, all right, Vanya is showing us that he can win, and this wasn't even like a Lair all-in or a 1-1 Roach all-in. No, he got up to Hive, he secured a 5th and 6th base, even though he had to battle for it really hard. Yeah, that's got to give him a lot of just confidence for the rest of the best of 5. I mean, we've had some epic best of 5s already today, some crazy games, cats. I don't know if anything can ever top Denver versus Kung Fu, but
oh my god, yeah, that was insane, that last game. I don't know that we're gonna be able to top that one ever. That was just absolutely ridiculous in terms of ridiculousness. But I mean, this one's looking pretty good, a little bit better and better for Vanya here as the series progresses. I'm not sure about uThermal's game plan. It looked really strong when the armies were kind of small, and in small numbers, like small amounts of bio can trade really effectively. But Mutiling Bane is one of the armies that is the most mobile out of any army, I think, in the game, perhaps. So when uThermal kind of splits his army in two, and Vanya has the option to take one engagement with his entire army on one side and then go to the other side and kind of crash onto the rest of the army of uThermal, that is when I think his plan started to fall apart a little bit, right?
I absolutely agree, 100%. It felt that everything was going well for uThermal, but at one point maybe getting a bit too fancy and flashy for his own good, where if he would have just kept the units together, he would have probably just kept on taking great trades and potentially run away with that. But hey, good news for us neutral StarCraft 2 fans, as we've got another competitive best of 5 on our hands. In the bottom right side, we are looking at the main base of the young Russian Zerg, who just managed to tie things up. It is Vanya.
And in the bottom left-hand side, it is the red Terran player, uThermal. Really lovely room as well. Looks very tidy.
Yeah, looks good. I feel like he changed the angle, because I feel like he used to be able to see the door, or at least he changed the angle of the camera. Yeah, a little bit of a light, a poster of himself. I mean,
that's what you want to see in the morning.
To be fair, somebody made a painting of like an old picture of me once at the Take TV, and I never knew what to do with that painting, so I just brought it home. And it's standing in my living room, but now I don't really realize that whenever somebody enters my house for the first time, they must think that I'm an absolute psycho for having a painting of myself behind the couch. But it's just there because I want to move it somewhere, but I don't know where I want to move it to.
Yeah, they probably think you commissioned that painting, you know? Like
No.
post for it.
I didn't. It's like a very old picture as well that he used from 2013, 2014 or something. It's like, well, I have it. I don't know what to do with it, but it's there. And then my mom is like, "Oh, I love it." I'm like, "Yeah, well, why don't you take it then, Mom? We'll put it in your living room, you know."
Yeah. All right. This map is gonna carry on here. As uThermal's gonna open pretty standard here. He does seem to like the stars at the start of the game for the command center, so that's a cute little touch there. A little bit of flair to his style, completely unnecessary, of course. And yeah, 4 links again for Vanya. So I'm not going back to that 6-link opener. I'm not sure what that was about.
Maybe a misclick, or maybe the low repeat rate of his keyboard got the best of him.
Yeah, maybe so. And the Reaper is going to make its way into the main of Vanya. Little room this time around for any sort of snipes, as there will be a ramp leading into the natural base. So unlikely that we find ourselves with some creep tumors if you are uThermal or a fan of his.
Yeah, that's gotta feel extra bad that he actually did have a very good start in that previous game, but I still don't think uThermal is too worried. Even though you never know with Mark, even though he's been around for such a long time, he's such an experienced player at this point. Sometimes emotions can absolutely get the best of him, and he can suddenly start doing weird things because he just gives up. I've had instances in the past where he actually wanted to quit a tournament. I'm like, don't do that. I was like, you're gonna lose your prize money, don't do that. And then he does calm down, but yeah, he just wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, and that can definitely help him in the path to improvement. Not so useful as you're in the middle of a series, however, as that can really get the best of you in that instance. But yeah, I think he is a very consummate professional. He will be able to recompose himself. And Vanya.
Yep, Roaches for the first time here in the best of 5. Obviously, Blackburn, a pretty good map for it. Rogue showed us all the way. And if you can beat Maru with Roaches, I believe you can beat anyone with Roaches.
Yeah, especially if that triangle third is the choice for uThermal, that is going to make it that much closer to that Roach aggression from the side of Vanya. I'm actually a little bit curious as to why Vanya takes this vertical base. Of course, maybe if you take the triangle yourself, it's a little bit too telegraphed that you are going for something like Roaches.
Yeah. I feel like you have no choice, right? Lambo often tells us that as a Zerg, you really have no choice on this map other than taking the vertical base. So if he would have taken a triangle, then uThermal's probably just going to bunker up and build tanks immediately.
Yeah. Yeah, most definitely, yeah. Because yeah, I mean, the triangle base does make sense if you want to go Roaches, but it should make sense to your opponent as well. So yeah, they should play around it.
Ooh, the Hellions actually getting caught in the center of the map, but they don't get surrounded. So uThermal dodging a bullet there.
Yes, indeed. And the Roaches are going to be spotted, however, by this Hellion. So uThermal catching wind of that. That's going to be extremely important. There is a Banshee opener yet again for the third time in a row. And Banshees are just about the best unit possible against these Roaches. So the first Banshee will meet up with the Roaches here in the middle of the map. The third command center is not really exposed. This is a very early Roach attack on the side of Vanya. And it's an attack that he can no longer commit to, just knowing that there is a Banshee opener.
Yeah, but that wasn't really the plan anyway. I actually think this is working out in a weird way all right for Vanya. He's not going to kill a lot of SCVs, but uThermal's obviously losing a lot of mining time. And I guess the upside of the previous game, Scats, is that we're not losing any drones at home, so we may as well lose a couple of Roaches on the other side of the map. Like, it's not that bad, because uThermal is reading this as a potential all-out, all-in. It's not, but it's still finding damage. I actually think I kind of like this in a weird way for Vanya, as long as he doesn't take too much damage at home against the Banshees, of course.
Yeah, I don't know, because the Banshee, I mean, the Banshees didn't do damage until there was 2 anyway, right? So right about now is when uThermal wants to use them. And uThermal actually added 2 barracks during that, instead of just producing units like a tank from his factory, which he had the ability to do earlier. So I think he has read into this as it being kind of a one-off, maybe just knowing that Vanya is good enough of a player to not overcommit once he spots the Banshee. So I do like it for uThermal quite a bit.
He's down 8 workers, and I guess that's not too bad. Maybe the bench can even get a cancel on this hatchery, because this hatchery just got planted down, which means there really isn't a whole lot of HP on it. Vanya is gonna stick with the Roach though, as he fires up +1 missile attacks and +1 carapace. Where are the queens, Vanya? We've been here before, same song and dance. We don't have too many queens to begin with, and most of the queens are chilling in the natural by the looks of it.
Yeah, uThermal actually missing a volley here and there, so maybe it could be 4 or 5 workers instead, but it will stack up the count now. Spots a lot of the queens at the third, so we'll move towards the natural base. A lot of the bases on this particular map, there is enough airspace for the Banshees to kind of travel through them and just pick their favorite mineral line. So 5 workers additionally go down.
Yep, Vanya has been rebuilding these workers already though, so he was all the way up to 67, now drops to 64. Do you think he's just gonna hit an all-out 1-1 Roach Ravager attack? Especially since uThermal didn't take the vertical base and uThermal went for the triangle one.
Yeah, my concern is still for the Banshees, but yeah, I don't know why uThermal took the triangle base. It's gonna be much more difficult to defend in my opinion. The tank on the high ground will help out a lot, and to uThermal's credit, he is trying to make a little bit of a SimCity already at that third base, but it is a very wide open space. The good thing for uThermal is that the rocks haven't been taken down from Vanya, so he is gonna still have to work through those. And the good thing for Vanya is his creep spread this time around. I mean, it's all geared up for something like this, right? Like he really can just get there with the queens, no problem.
But this is already better creep spread than we had on 2K Atmosphere as well. Yeah. Even if we are playing Roaches and we are just going to use it as a launch pad. Vanya has been at 66 drones for a while, but he has been transferring drones towards the gold. So he's got a pretty monstrous income. I guess we can bring queens too. I don't know what the queen count is currently at. It's only 6. I'm actually a little bit surprised by that. It almost feels like Vanya is looking to land a Hail Mary shot on the Banshees, but that's wishful thinking.
Yeah, I think that's what he needs the queens for, is just to keep the Banshees at bay. I don't think that you can afford to not account for the Banshees at all. At least, I mean, he should. uThermal is now pulling back with the Banshees. I was going to say, why aren't these Banshees kind of taxing the army as it moves on forward? There are a lot of tanks here at the front, but none on the high ground, actually. So I'm not sure if this is going to be doable for Vanya, because a lot of the strength of roaches, in my opinion, on this map is that for this base, they can kind of do a 180 surround, right? Like, but this time around, Vanya's coming from a single angle, or was coming from a single angle, having not broken those rocks yet.
I do like it, what Vanya's doing in this game. He's making it really hard for uThermal to get a proper read on him, right? Where it's like, I'm aggressive, I'm actually not. I'm gonna be aggressive again, actually I'm not. Because now an infestation pit goes down, we even fire up +1 melee after we already have +1 missile attacks. Bailing speed is on the way. This is kind of cool, but of course it doesn't change the fact that eventually he's gonna have to win a fight against the max out uThermal. But hey, he pretty much got that done on 2K, so maybe we can do it all over again here on Blackburn.
That is true, but this time around he's going to have a lot of supply committed to that Roach Ravager. Now the creep is going to start receding, and I think that what happened to Vanya there potentially is that he scouts uThermal, and it's less of like, I'm going to keep you guessing, and more of, oh shit, I can't break you type thing, you know, like I just better go back and try to transition. And he is quick to those transitions, to his credit. I think that that's very impressive and a very difficult decision to make, to kind of change your plan, but I think he is changing his plan on the go rather than trying to make a Mark fall for it.
Yeah, I guess he's trying to like just throw some feints, and if there is obviously an opportunity there, he will pounce on it, but if there isn't, then he will know what the next step is in his playbook. A couple of links have been left behind to potentially deal with this double drop that uThermal has set up at the bottom side of the map. Bailing speed is finishing up, and +1 melee is done too. You think Vanyas is going to try to get ultras out again?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty good. Let's see, the tech lab count though on the side of uThermal is really strong actually. So uThermal has the capabilities to make a lot of Marauders, and against Roaches I don't doubt that he will be making a lot of Marauders. So I don't know that Ultras are the best thing that Vanya can do, but then again, I mean, he is on Hive, so you gotta make something happen with that. Maybe just Vipers would be better for the tanks right away, for those blinding clouds, and just for abducts.
Seems like one of the medevacs got picked off in the main base with Marines still inside of it, as Vanya is going to try to get close towards these tanks. Not the prettiest fight by Vanya so far. Vanya's got a lot of money in the bank. I almost wouldn't even hate it if he takes somewhat of a bad fight here just to clean up the tank count a little bit, as uThermal does have 7 tanks out and most of them are in the center of the map.
Yeah, uThermal, I love that he scans before choosing to reposition or anything like that. So he sees that the army of Vanya is here, and like you said, he is gonna look for a cleanup on these tanks. He will get it indeed, so that is very, very nice. A reset for Vanya. On the other side, uThermal trying to counter-attack with a little bit of a medevac drop. There's not units in place to answer it, and there's not that many links compared to the previous game. A lot of the army of Vanya is roaches, so the links, whatever is left of them, will come and make their way. Now some Vipers as well on the side of Vanya are being produced. That's going to help out should the tank production continue as well. And the Ultralist Den that you were hinting about, Kev, is also going to be the weapon of choice for Vanya.
Yeah, but I like that he didn't forget about Vipers, right? Where he's like, I already killed a couple of your tanks. If I get a few more with the Vipers, then why the hell not? Can I not just A-move you with a lot of Lings and Banes? Because Vanya's had a lot of minerals. I won't say gold, but because of the gold minerals, but he's had a lot of minerals in the bank for a while. His income has been phenomenal. It's definitely been the best economy I think he's had so far in this best of 5. He's gonna try to run down this ram, but he finds the army of uThermal here. I actually thought that this was a plan by Vanya, but that was just a rally that he probably didn't want to make.
Yeah, and that's a little bit rough because the key units for him are not yet out. We still have a pretty basic army on the side of Vanya. I would love to see this time around Infestors, especially if he plans to commit to those Ultras, or otherwise with the creep spread or their lack of, it's going to be easy for uThermal, I think, to kite those Ultras back. However, the Vipers are finally here, so a beautiful blinding cloud here on top of all of the tanks, and that's going to make it easy, I think, for Vanya on the cleanup, though the fan out for uThermal is rather nice too.
There are some reinforcements coming in though, and oh my goodness, uThermal's bio is just reigning supreme here. Even though we did have a little parasitic bomb, 30 drones have gone down. As during all of this, we had a little double drop in the top right side too. Vanya, his Ravages are misclicked now in the center of the map. They came in through bio, so a lot of Ravages just got picked off. Karosabal is going to try to connect with the medevacs here, but it really feels like there is no answer for these Marines. There is just no stopping them as a few more Ravages go down. The final few links go down. Nice connection there on the medevacs, but I am afraid it's a day late and a dollar short as another Viper gets picked up. This double drop has been the most successful double drop of the day. It killed 25 drones, 2 bases and a Viper.
Yeah, and Vanya, I mean, this is the position that you can exploit a lot of the time as a Terran player, but or uThermal rather. He doesn't really have anything else to do on this side of the map anymore. Now just play defense, make sure that you don't die to this. And again, Ultras off creep without something like Infestors to hold the units in place. It's not gonna be pretty for Vanya here. uThermal doing everything that he wants to do. Only a couple of Marauders, but now with 2 or 3 more joining, it's gonna be easy pickings. And now Vanya forced to retreat, but retreat to what?
Yeah, that's the Queens, I guess. Transfuse for days. Come on, Ultra. Be that hero Ultra of, who was it? Gausser, a long time ago.
Sapi, maybe?
Oh, yeah, Soppy had one too. But I think Gossi user had one too in the MLP.
For sure, yeah.
Your days, cats. Your days.
My days. Yeah. Fitzy here probably had a few of those.
Yeah. Poor Vanya. It felt that it all went downhill when he had those 40, 50 links running towards the top side of the map. And suddenly he got shocked because there was an army of uThermal there. I thought he maybe wanted to engage, wanted to surround it, connect with a couple of Banes. He ran all the links through, then he ran them back. And it felt that everything went downhill from that point forward. GG, uThermal does take the 2-1 lead in our final European best of 5. He's not there yet, cats, but I think overall it's still looking very good for the Dutchman.
Yeah, very, very good indeed. We're going to go to a quick break, and when we get back, the final moments of that series. Two to one is the current score, and the leader of that score is uThermal at the moment. My name is Katz. I am joined by Roddy. And we are about to get set on Romanticide for this next map. It should be a pretty good map for uThermal.
I was very confused because I was like, Jagannatha? Why are we playing Jagannatha? Like, what did uThermal veto? Then it turned out I joined Black Widow versus Lila Cannon. Also a banger of a TVZ on the European server at the moment, but not the one that we are covering, cats. In the top left side, we are looking at the main base of the man who's already sending out one of the boys, two of the boys, all the boys. Bottom right side, he is hailing from the Netherlands. It is uThermal.
And in the bottom right-hand side, it is the blue Zerg player, Vanya, from Russia.
I feel like uThermal can't help himself. Where he's like,
Yeah.
I can just play Hellion Banshee. Mate, just play Hellion Banshee. This is Romanticide. You're good at the macro game. You can just play Hellion Banshee. And then he's like got this little demon voice in the back of his head. It's like, just go for a little 2x, 3x, man. Come on, just one time. What's the worst thing that can happen? And somehow he gets pulled into the dark side once more.
Yeah, maybe looking for that 500 IQ play a little bit too much, right? Like, because obviously no one's going to expect it on Romanticide, especially matchup-wise. It's like you are the favorite player, right? Going up against perhaps your most aggressive opponent that you're going to have in the entire bracket should you continue to transverse through it. And this is the most defensive map that there is. So, I mean, stylistically, this is my favorite map for uThermal. If I had to put odds to it, I would imagine that this is the one that he takes no matter what if he just plays his own style. But instead, he's going to go for the 2 racks, and it will actually be spotted right away.
Yep, but he does have a refinery already going up at home. And in uThermal's defense, Marino actually did it too, right? Against Stefano in the group stage. And I actually asked Marino about it. I'm like, why would you? Like, I know you're good with it, but is it really necessary? And he's like, oh yeah, 2x is sick, man, with a gas. It's not a big deal at all. You can always get ahead. And I kind of feel that that's just uThermal's thought process here too. I'm a bit confused by the drone pull of Vanya because he scouted it a bit too late. He's going to pull all the drones now pretty much to the low ground. He really does not want these bunkers to go up. Cats, this could be a really short game if this goes wrong for Vanya because he is taking this ultra serious.
Yeah, and that can be a good response as well. He does know that it's just the 2 barracks, so I'm not sure if this ever ends up being an overcommitment. But yeah, that was exactly what Vanya was trying to do, is just prevent these bunkers from going up. Now the links are out, so he should be able to kind of kill this, but he's still going to need some help from his drones. If not, at least a spine started sometime soon. I'm confused as to why he was so willing to pull the drones earlier, but not anymore.
Same, because now that bunker is still going to finish up. At least that creep moved a little bit forward. So the second bunker is a bit further away. We do get a spine crawler now, but the bunker is done. Marines are going to make it into the bunker. One Marine does fall, but I'm completely with you, cats. I'm a bit confused about all of this too. One Marine was very low in HP there. You probably want to micro that Marine a little bit. Good target fire by Vanya. I felt that uThermal probably should have kept that one in the bunker.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I don't think that Marine should ever be outside of that bunker. The Queen very, very low on HP as well. These additional 4 Marines are going to get loaded in. And unfortunately for Vanya, he will have the ability to transfuse here. And he doesn't have that many workers. So Larva is not going to be too much of an issue. Now with the spine, Vanya will be able to crawl forward and start taking care of these bunkers. But uThermal, like you were pointing out, I mean, this wasn't a huge commitment. And in fact, he already has a Starbird on the way. That's crazy.
I'm kind of worried for Vanya, by the way, because this is 8 Marines, 9 Marines now, and 8 of them in bunkers. There is not too much energy left on these queens. Both queens are very low on HP. At least the link count is high. But the SCVs can safely repair this bunker for a little while. And this is where uThermal is going to relive the glory days of the Muslim, hopping in and out of bunkers. This is why Idra is no longer playing this video game. And I'm actually still very worried here for Vanya, man. This is not going well because he's not getting a single shot off on these Marines. Obviously, really good micro here by uThermal. Vanya is going to be forced to fight this, but cats, it's still 9 Marines, 8 Marines down, 2 bunkers.
Yeah, and all of the links of Vanya are going to go down. He's still making drones, somewhat luckily for him, I guess, because uThermal didn't really overcommit here, right? Like, he didn't continue to make Marines. If there was additional Marines here, Vanya would be in a terrible position, but at least he has the right read, that this is all that he has to deal with. And in having that read, he does well to just kind of tech up and make his own workers.
I absolutely love how uThermal got out of that bunker one more time just to pick up one of these screens. This barracks is now going to be a really fat, chunky observer. flies into the main base and spots the fact that Vanya is stacking up to a lair already, so uThermal knows what he's up against. This one Overlord is chilling at the rich Vespian geyser of Vanya could give potentially Vanya the heads up that the medevac is already heading his way. In a way,
What is he gonna do?
I don't know what Vanya is gonna do, to be honest. Like, it could be Queen Nidus, but it's also like he's never gonna be able to keep it hidden.
It's going to be very difficult to defend as well, right? It's going to be 3 Queens and 8 Zerglings, and there's going to be elevated Hellions, and I wouldn't mind if the 8 Marines were also elevated. And I think if they were, actually, uThermal might be able to close the game. Instead, it's just going to be the Hellions going in, and that is going to be still very, very good damage for the Dutch here, who finds himself an empty mineral line. The Lynx are going to come here, and actually getting a little bit trapped are the Hellions, but they do find the little bit of space to go behind those minerals and kill all of the Zerglings. 10 workers and a lot of Zerglings. Only one Hellion has fallen. This might just be it.
Yep, I think it's over. There's only 6 army supply, and now we're dropping a Nidus while we have no units. We've got 6 army supply. All 6 of it is in Queens. These Queens are very low on HP. At least they're going to show some love to one another, but yeah, this is not getting any better. I guess Vanya has to cancel his fire exactly and just pray that the Nidus gets it done. But it's really hard to pull off a Nidus when you've got no roaches.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what he's gonna load into that Nidus. Maybe some. Yeah, he has 5 roaches now on the way, I suppose. But I mean, let's look at the other side of things. Let's use our imagination. Is there any chance here for Vanya? uThermal is mostly on the side of the map of Vanya. Now evacuating finally. He thinks if I just defend, I should be able to pull it off. But Vanya's Nidus will go up, Kevin. So is there a universe here where he stabilizes?
The thing is, he needs to kill all 35 SCVs. I'm actually surprised that uThermal still has his command center on the way, but I'm surprised this Nidus is going up in the first place. Let's start off with that, because this Nidus went down when we had 6 army supply, and all 6 of that were in Queens that was out of position to deal with Hellions. So we do have now a couple of Ravages. This is perhaps the most promising it's ever going to look for Vanya. Do I think it's going to work? No, absolutely not. Does it look more promising than a minute ago? Hell yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it almost seems like uThermal is trying to let it work because he only made Hellions. That is the worst possible unit that you can actually make against this unit composition. There is 1 Marauder to account for this. There is a lot of Transfuse on the side of Vanya, but now with Hellbats, that is a significant upgrade, a significant improvement, and I love the SCVs being pulled here because I think your assessment is correct. Vanya needed to do a lot more damage. He needed to kill almost every single SCV to kind of stand a chance here, so he will have to evacuate. At least he buys himself some time. uThermal still has to cross the map before putting on any extra aggression.
uThermal didn't have Sim. That could have been pretty ugly, right? Because then his army is very hard to actually get close to the Zerg units of Vanya, and it's kind of slow, immobile. Maybe Corrosive Vow can connect. Now I think it's still more than fine for uThermal, even though he was forced to cancel a command center, lost a couple SCVs. I think we made this perhaps a bit harder on ourselves than it should have been, because I felt like he saw that Nidus pretty early on, but maybe he was preparing mentally for that Spire, even though he saw it was being cancelled. I don't really know. I also don't think it matters, guys. I think uThermal is still light years ahead in this game.
Yeah, he certainly is. I mean, if those Hellions don't turn into Hellbats, if the armory is an oversight or something like that from uThermal, all of a sudden I think that Vanya could have done a lot more, or maybe even potentially ended the game. But as it stands, and with the Hellbats being present, that's too much HP for the number of units that Vanya had. Now uThermal's gonna catch wind of just how many units that is. And if your opponent has this many units after the game has looked like it has looked, certainly they have no chance at coming back on the economic front. So uThermal knows that. He just has to siege up his tanks, make his walls, make it difficult for the Russian to kind of break him, and that should be it.
I'm actually surprised. uThermal just wants to macro, right? He drops 2 extra refineries, 2 E-bays. I'm like, this is not that necessary. We have a Hellion drop again in the main base, and this is going to pick up some of these final drones that Vanya has. Vanya has a single queen left, so he's not just a bit committed. He is ultra all in, and I think he's ready to tap out. Because Vanya knows he's not going to break down that wall of depots or depots in the front, and this one bunker is going to stand strong. And even if the bunker does fall, we've got Stim Buyer, we've got a tank. It's going to be uThermal who moves on into the round of 12 here in the DreamHack Masters Winter 2021. Even though Vanya is doing his absolute best, he's got a couple roaches, he's got a couple ravages, but it's not going to be enough, cats.
Yeah, not with the second tank coming and sieging on that high ground. No medevacs, however, so I'm not sure that this bio needs to overextend at all from uThermal. But he's going to make the game a little bit closer perhaps than it needs to be. Still that siege tank in a beautiful position from uThermal. Without high ground vision, it cannot be spotted, so Vanya's going to have to move further forward if he wants to take it down. And I think if there was an opportunity to do that, it's now gone with all of the Hellbats sitting at the front. uThermal will even drop the Hellbats on top of the Ravagers. I'm not sure if it was completely necessary, but it is what he's gonna choose to do, end the game in style. And with that, uThermal